Hey everyone! In today's video, we're going to be doing a portrait photo shoot on the streets of Sydney with 3 compact lenses from Sigma. So I have the Sigma 24mm f3.5, the Sigma 35mm f2, and the Sigma 45mm f2.8, and we're going to be testing out all 3 lenses on the Sony A7IV for both photo and video. So I'll start with a full body shot here, because that looks super cool. The first lens I'm using is the Sigma 24mm f3.5, and we're going to work our way up in focal lengths. As always, I'm going to be sharing the 100% crop of the straight out of camera unedited photos so you can see all the details, plus my edited version afterwards. Make sure you switch this video over to 4K so you can watch in the best resolution. These 3 lenses are part of the Contemporary line from Sigma, where they created compact and lightweight lenses for Sony E-mount and L-mount, which includes 9 full-frame prime lenses in total as of the time of making this video. Sony also have their own line of compact prime lenses with the Sony G24mm f2.8, G40mm f2.5, and G50mm f2.5. I feel like if you wanted to kind of play with your hair would be cool there. Samyang also have similar small and lightweight lenses, and so do Tamron with their 20mm, 24 and 35mm f2.8 lenses. I have reviews on all these series of lenses, so I'll leave those videos linked in the description if you want to watch more. I also thought it would be interesting to include comparison images between all these lenses throughout the video too, so you can compare the image quality to decide which one is right for you. First, let's talk about the build. All of the lenses in this contemporary series look very uniform. Each of these lenses features an AF to MF switch, a focus ring, and an aperture ring, which also includes auto lock. I absolutely love that these lenses have an aperture ring. It's perfect for a camera body like the A7C that has limited buttons, so you want to be able to have as many features on the lens as possible, especially aperture control. Both the 24 and 45mm weigh 230 grams, and the 35 we're using next is the heaviest of all 3, weighing 325 grams. This 24mm is very sharp and has great autofocus performance and accuracy. Since it is an f3.5, it has the smallest maximum aperture of these 3 lenses that we're taking a look at today. At 24mm and f3.5, it was a little tricky to capture bokeh in this location, but from the photos I captured, the bokeh appears quite round and clean. I also don't mind that this lens is f3.5. With a 24mm like this, I can see it being used a lot for travel, landscape, and street photography, for example, where bokeh and shallow depth of field is not usually needed. It might get tricky taking photos with this lens though in lower light situations like during blue hour, indoors, or at night. This 24mm has a pretty defined lens flare, which can become distracting in photos. Now we have video samples taken on the Sony A7S III. These were all shot using autofocus. The 24mm does a great job at keeping up with focus on the subject while moving around. I also really love what this lens looks like for video. It's sharp, and due to its small size and weight, it would be perfect for wide-angle gimbal shots. Next, I'm switching over my lens to the 35mm f2, and I'm back on the Sony A7IV for photo. The 35 and 45 perform almost identical to each other and also share very similar image quality, so I want to talk about these 2 lenses together. But I'll be sharing my images from the 35mm first and the 45mm afterwards. The 35 and 45 have excellent autofocus performance. You can see in the picture-in-picture that IAF was sticky on Sophie throughout the entire photo shoot. I have my A7IV set to continuous autofocus with a wide focus area to let the camera and lens do all the work so I can get a good idea of how they perform. I found both lenses had the best autofocus accuracy rate for photos taken from further away, so mid-length and full body shots. During those portraits, the majority of the photos I captured had critical focus on the eyes. As I moved in closer for tighter headshots, I would say the accuracy was still good, but I could see slightly more missed focus photos in these instances. In saying that, both these lenses still felt very reliable throughout our portrait session, and I came home with more than enough usable photos to choose from for editing. I love the character of both the 35 and 45mm. Both lenses produce sharp images with lots of clarity and detail. In terms of portrait photography, sometimes too much sharpness can be a problem, but I think these lenses balance the amount of sharpness really well, and they all look flattering for portraits. The colors straight out of camera from each of these lenses is great too. These unedited photos have a neutral to slightly cooler color cast and were very easy to work with in post. Let's check out this lens for video now on the A7S III while I talk about bokeh. The bokeh from the 35mm is quite oval and eye-shaped throughout the frame, and it has a small amount of texture too. The texture here doesn't bother me too much since the bokeh is not super prominent, as this is an f2 lens. We also have a pretty distinct lens flare with the 35 as well. It's quite defined and colourful. Last but not least, I've switched over to the 45mm f2.8, which I think is a great focal length for portrait photography, and you'll be able to see that because I ended up capturing more close-up portraits on this lens compared to the other two. And while we take a look at the photos I captured from the 45, I'm also going to share comparison images from all three lenses together so you can see them side by side to compare colors, bokeh, image quality, and sharpness. Seeing as we have the 35mm f2, I would have ideally loved to see this 45mm come in an f2 version as well, instead of being an f2.8 lens. In saying that, we do have their 65mm f2, which I have a video I'm working on about, and the 50mm f2 to choose from, which I'm looking forward to reviewing soon. Get a little close-up shot here because the light's so good. This 45mm lens has a similar bokeh shape to the 35, however the 45 has cleaner bokeh. The lens flare from the 45 is again quite large and pretty green, but it is softer than the 35mm lens flare, so you could potentially use this flare creatively in your photos. Can I please get you to stand just like here? I'll try and get a full body shot here. We'll see what it looks like. Yeah, that's really nice. I like that. I might Photoshop the sign out behind you. I haven't decided yet. That looks great. Overall, I think this is a great set of small and lightweight prime lenses to use, especially for travel, street photography, or as a small daily lens. I really like all the photos I captured with them. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. We have some very similar lenses from Tamron, including the 20, 24, and 35. We also have the Sony set 24, 40, and 50. Looking at all of these lenses side by side, the Sigma holds up very well in terms of image quality, sharpness, and performance. So that is all I have for today's photo shoot. Let me know which ones are your favorite photos and which one was your favorite lens out of the three as well in the comments down below. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I make new videos every single week, so I'll see you all next time. Bye.